Do you guys understand it? Kind of. Did you guys see the definitions I gave you up here?
Yeah.
Good. You're welcome. Okay. Did you not see those, Annie?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so what's going on here? What are they talking about?
Bacteria and sugar cane makes nitrogen for the plant.
That's right. Yeah. And what kind of what do we call those guys that are in the plant?
Microbiome.
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah. I'll accept that. But we talked about a specific word, endophyte. Endophyte. And what are endophytes? Yes, Sean. No. Chris.
Yeah. Do they just like live inside the plants first, like the kids?
Yeah. So they do, but what do?
They fix the.
Yeah, they fix the nitrogen. So and they're symbiotic, right? They're the plant's providing them a house basically, and they're providing the nitrogen. Exactly. So they are endosymbionts, which is part of a symbiotic relationship. Okay, so what did they find?
That the endophyte make it so then like it's unable to infect the sugar cane plants by the link to the damaged tissue, so it's like better.
Not in a way. What are the endophytes doing? What are you guys making?
They're like helping the nitrogen get into. They're like the process of like.
Yeah, but what were the results? What were the results of their experiment? Yeah, it did. Well, but so what were the results? Take another look.
Like a potential alternative for nitrogen fertilizer.
Exactly. And how much how much of the nitrogen chemical fertilizer are you able to replace? Or are you able, 60 to 80% is what they said. So you can reduce this by 60 to 80%. Right? What?
Why do they do that?
I think that's why they published this, so that people would do this, right? But again, endophytes, you have to you have to consider what plant organism it is, because this is this relationship of endosymbiosis is very specific. So depending on which plant it is, that determines which kind of endophyte can be an endosymbiont, right? And it depends on what kind of soil it's growing in too. And notice how it also said that as long as you have good conditions of water and mineral nutrient supply, then you see this effect. So what's the limiting factor here?
Minerals.
Yeah, if you have enough nitrogen, but you're missing one of those things, then yes, those are going to be the limiting factor. All other things equal and at the right level, nitrogen is going to be your limiting factor, right? Tricia, did you have a question?
Oh yeah, is this like a humanity or is it just about
This is just a sugar cane that they're looking at, and they're looking at it when it has this type of bacteria, right?
Oh, the acid.
Yep. So it says the recently discovered bacterium Acidobacter diazotrophicus, apparently responsible for this nitrogen fixation associated with the plant, has unique physiological properties for a diazotroph or for a nitrogen fixing bacteria. So they can tolerate low pHs and high sugar and salt concentrations. Why would that be important? What kind of plant is this?
Oh,
Sugar cane.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, pretty cool. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the study that your book mentions, or that the text from the book mentions. So there was a study looking at how plants are affecting basically runoff. So they took two different washes. Do you know what a wash is? Or a drainage? It's where you've got kind of steep sides of stuff and it collects in the stream and washes out. This is exactly what we have in the Wasatch where our water comes from, right? That's where our water source is. So what they did is they had two of them, and they're very similar, as similar as you can physically get. And they cut down all the trees in one of them and left the trees in the other. So, what do you think happened?
Erosion.
Yeah, potentially erosion. Yep, definitely. But what else? What about these nutrients that we're talking about? Trees take a little while to grow back. Let's say they don't grow back. What happened? What might happen?
The nutrients disappear.
What's that?
Like the nutrients disappear because the water's taking away the nutrients downstream.
Interestingly enough, there are lots of nutrients here in the water because the water is taking it, but it's not because the water can't take it here, but it's because if you don't have these trees here, what are they not doing?
Well, they're not taking the nutrients.
They're not taking up the nutrients. So when you have, what are the tridivores doing?
Eating them.
And the nitrogen fixing bacteria? What are they doing?
Making nitrogen.
Yeah, they're making, what did we say, NO3, nitrate? And you're getting a ton of it here. It's not being taken up and used by trees because they're not there anymore. And so instead it's leaching into the water. And what happens when you have a lot of nitrate in waterways?
Bad for your baby.
Yeah,
The algae bloom.
algae blooms. Right? You're getting increased photosynthesis in that water, which takes up the oxygen, which ultimately reduces the oxygen in that waterway. Any questions? Okay, all right, we're gonna take the last 20 minutes or so, and we're gonna talk about writing and papers. So who watched the video that I made on writing? Anyone? Yeah? Did you guys find it helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely read or listen to that and watch it before you start writing your paper. Has anybody been able to look at the prompt for the final paper that I posted?
I can't find the prompt, but I found like all like the assignments.
Okay, so if you look in your files area, if you have a computer, feel free to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up here. Yeah, so if you look under files, you should see a folder titled Final Paper. Do you see that? Okay. So open up Final Assignment Prompt. Okay, feel free to share computers if you don't have one, but I'm also going to try to pull it up on here. Email. This will actually work. is everybody looking at one? Okay. Is there anybody who does not have a computer near them from someone that they can look at it? No. Okay. I'll try one more time. Oh. Hooray. Okay, so all right, cool. Okay, so for the final assignment, your task is to write a review paper using predominantly peer-reviewed articles, which you guys know what they are, on a topic within biology. So I'm leaving this pretty open-ended because I want it to be something that you guys are interested in, that you specifically are interested in. It should obviously be a topic that you can actually write 5 pages on. And I'm also giving you guys a prompt to kind of help you with the process. I know this might sound daunting. And then also a rubric. So the prompt gives you what you should talk about for those pages. So the first page, I want you guys to talk about the background. So when did this topic even first begin to be talked about? Who was talking about it, and how did they discover it? And how did people consider this topic before the discovery? What about now, after? And do the general public accept it? So for example, if we wanted to use the GMO example, you could say, okay, well, the 1980s was when they first started actually using the first GMO, and this was by agricultural companies, not pharmaceutical companies, but agricultural companies that are biologically engineering these things, right? And then you can talk about like how they were actually able to do this. And then you can talk about, just for one page, this isn't the whole thing, but you can talk about what people thought about it as GMO started to be used, right? Okay, then the experimental component is a real focus of the paper. So what is the state of the field? I'm asking you to look at a field and kind of come to some conclusions to try to summarize it. That means you're going to have to read more than one article, or even 2 or 3, right? If you only read one article of GMO, what do you guys know? What's that?
Only with the article.
Yeah, and with GMOs, we know that there are publications that go both ways, right? So if you're only reading one, you're missing the whole picture. Did you have a question? Okay, cool. All right, so this should help you write your paper. And yeah, you're gonna answer like what questions, what is the current state of the field? What are they talking about doing in this field? And I want you to identify 3 possible avenues of research. So when you read this, what are 3 things that you're thinking about? Like, this is probably where they're gonna go, or questions that you might have about where the research could go. And then your broader impacts piece. So how does this impact humans, current society, the environment, and how could these discoveries impact the future? Okay, and as you guys know, it has formatting requirements. And I really want you guys to make this data-driven. So there shouldn't be any vague generalities like people hate GMOs. That's not scientifically supportable. Like, unless you have a survey that's been published and goes around asking people and scientifically looks at the statistics. So make your statements data-driven. This is not a personal opinion piece. And then we're going to have an extensive peer review. Sam.
So with the data-driven statements, and you're not putting your own opinions into
Yes.
it, so you're probably going to be getting a ton of this stuff from the articles, the peer-reviewed journals, and everything.
That is correct.
So would it be appropriate in this paper to have inline citations
Yes.
every 2 to 3 sentences?
Definitely.
Okay.
If not every sentence. Yeah. So, so you're going to have at least 5 peer-reviewed sources and then 2 not peer-reviewed sources, and you're using inline citations with superscripts just like that. And I talked about it in the video, right? Any questions so far? Okay, and as we've been talking about this entire time, don't use quotes. If you do use a quote, it shouldn't be more than 3 words long. Quotes are not used when you don't understand something but you want to include it. That is not what quotes are used for, especially not in scientific writing. Scientific writing is different. It's different than writing for example, maybe Loretta and Jose's class, right? We're not worried about hooks. We're not worried about flowery language. What I want you guys to be focused on is actually conveying information. So stuff that worked in high school will not work on this paper, okay? All that fluff has to disappear. So when you guys do your peer reviews, you're going to cross out every single word and every single sentence that does not convey a new idea or isn't necessary, right? I want you guys to make that transition from unclear writing to very clear, concise writing. We've got to make that transition for this paper, okay? So we're going to facilitate that by giving you peer reviews. You're each going to review, I should say here, I think it's 3. You're going to have 3 peer reviews. And when you guys, when you guys review it, you're going to use a questionnaire. Okay. Of course now it does. Okay, so on this questionnaire, you're basically you're going to fill this out for each one you read. And it's going to ask you guys these questions. So I want you to take responsibility for these reviews you're writing. Sometimes the reviews you guys wrote, some of them were great, some of them were awesome, they gave really good detail. Others were very vague, your reviews of the papers. So I want you guys to be accountable for this. Because what happens if you don't do that? Then the person you're reviewing for misses out on an opportunity to make improvements. So you guys are going to fill this out. And if you say, no, this document doesn't contain grammatical errors, and I look at it and it's covered in grammatical errors, then that's not good, right? Okay. So for each one, you're going to fill that out. Okay, and so our rubric is pretty simple because this is college and this stuff should be obvious, but to get an A, you need to hand in a paper that has no grammatical mistakes, your sentences are clear and concise, you're effectively using your sources, your entire review is data-driven, you do not have personal opinions, and you're accurately evaluating the published peer-reviewed literature on the topic with correct citations, okay? And you actually answer all portions of the prompt. So sometimes in your guys' papers from this last week, you might not have answered all of the prompts, and you didn't get points, the full points if you didn't do that. So to get an A, you're going to have to answer all of the questions on the prompts and properly address them. And really, like an A grade means that you're not only answering them, but you're connecting them to make a cohesive document, right? It's not bullet point, question, short answer, right? You're making this a cohesive document, and you're offering accurate and insightful conclusions, right? This is that's our goal. And then you can see if you like getting a B or a C. I don't even include F. I think it's pretty obvious what an F would be. But yeah, so if you have questions on this, please feel free to ask me. Do you guys have any questions now? I know this is difficult. This is a challenge, right? But what's today?
12th.
And when is it due?
9th.
The 9th, right? You guys have almost an entire month, okay? That's why I'm giving it to you now, because I want it to be really good. I want you guys to use this as an opportunity to really make your grade good. This is almost 1/3 of your grade, okay? So you guys could have a not so good grade, do really well on this, and really boost your grade for the semester, okay? Alternatively, if you do really poorly on this, even if you have really good grades in the other two sections, it's, it's going to bring your grade down. Alex?
So you said we were, instead of the posts, we're going to be turning in parts of
Correct.
this?
So that's the next thing let's look at. Okay, can't pull that up. Okay, so due date, here we go. Okay, so instead of your post assignments, we're going to have you guys doing parts of the paper. So for example, on Monday, actually this is Tuesday now, because I don't need to see this before Tuesday morning. Right, the 17th is Tuesday? Okay, good. Okay, yeah, so you're going to come up with 3 potential topics. And then for each of those topics, you're going to provide 3 to 5 sentences kind of explaining what you would talk about if you were to do that topic. And for your favorite topics, I'm assuming you guys are going to have a favorite topic. I want you to look up 2 peer-reviewed sources, and then write a 3-sentence summary of the findings of each one. So it'd be like reading that abstract, maybe looking at more of that paper, and just writing a 3-sentence summary saying, this source looks at the use of endophytes in agricultural production of sugarcane, and shows that by using endophytes you can use 60 to 80% less chemical fertilizer. Done. Move on to the next one, right? Okay, then for the next week, you guys are turning in your final topic, 3 additional peer-reviewed sources with your little summaries, 2 additional non-peer-reviewed sources, and then the background component of your prompt. This is sort of like the introduction, but you're not just introducing it, you're really giving us that historical background of the topic. Okay, and then an outline of the rest of your paper, and on that outline, you write source 1, source 2, wherever you're using that source. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any questions on those first 2 assignments? Okay. Then, yes, Shelby.
So you're saying like when that's how you want us to cite it is like source 1?
No, this is just for the outline, because what I want you to do is make an outline of your paper, say in this paragraph I'm going to talk about this, then I'm going to talk about this. But when you say those things, you have to use a source, right? This is data driven. So on your outline, you're just going to identify which source you're using. You want to use a superscript, that's fine.
Okay.
Yes, for sure, definitely. You're definitely going to need to do that, especially if you are only using 5 peer-reviewed sources, right? And it could be great to find, like let's say you're looking, let's use the GMO example. One of the papers I gave you guys for GMOs was a review paper itself, right? So if you look at that review paper, that's a great way to find all that literature, right? If you look at the sources cited from that article, it's all going to be GMO papers.
So can we use that?
If you want to do GMOs, yes, you can, but we've talked a lot about them in class, so I'm going to want you guys to really make it super excellent and go in depth more than what we talked about in class, okay? And I'm going to be giving you guys feedback on your potential topics, so you might suggest a topic that, from my perspective, knowing more about the field, you might not be able to write 5 pages on that topic. It might either be too specific or it might be so broad, right? And you don't want to pick something like, for example, cell division. I mean, that field hasn't really changed in a very long time. It's pretty nuts and bolts kind of thing, right? You could look at, for example, cancer that involves the cell cycle and cell division, right? But you're going to have a lot more to write about if you do that. Yeah, Shelby.
So would it be counted as biology if we do like how they treat cows and like other animals in farms and things?
So what you could look at is, you could look at like agricultural feed and feed practices and the physiological impacts on livestock, for sure. Okay, any other questions? Any other thoughts on what you guys might do? Yeah, Cyrus.
Do you think like keep a natural pest control?
for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I want you guys to be interested in this. We've talked about some really cool things, right? Like, we looked at bog bodies. I mean, if you don't think that's cool, I must be like not having a heartbeat or something. Because bog bodies are crazy, right? So pick something you're interested in. I want you guys to be interested in what you're reading about. Yeah. Okay. So then your rough draft is going to be due, and you're bringing 3 copies into class, so that way your peer reviewers can have a copy. And when you do it, on that assignment sheet where you're going to submit it, I mentioned how you shouldn't put your name on it, just put your UID number. It just gives you some anonymity. All right. So then your peer edit will be due on the 2nd. On the 3rd, you're going to hand in a corrected draft of your paper. And that's going to be handed in to me, and I'm going to give you guys some feedback. Okay, and then on the 9th, so I'm hoping to get these back to you by the 5th, so that gives you guys 4 days to work on it. What's that? That only gives you 2 days. I know, but I really want you guys to have time to work on it. And then you're going to hand in your final draft, and you're going to incorporate my edits, right? But I'm going to try to give you guys feedback throughout this process. So on your topics, I'll give you guys feedback. I'm going to be giving you guys feedback on your introductions and your outline, right? To see if you guys are getting all the stuff you need. Do you guys have any questions on this?
Sorry,
Yeah.
when did you say you're going to hand us our papers with your edits on it?
So I'm going to do that online. So some of these are due in class.
Right.
Like your rough draft right here is due in class. This one, the corrected draft of your paper with peer edits, that is due online as a Word document. So that way I can use tracking and give you guys corrections. I'll reiterate this again. Word is free for students through the university, Microsoft Word, for either Mac or PCs, okay? So you guys, yeah.
So when are you handing us our draft back with yours?
My goal is to get it to you by the 5th.
Okay.
And that gives you 4 days to get your final draft,
Perfect.
okay? But by this point, it shouldn't be major stuff, right?
Right.
Hopefully that major stuff is going to happen back in the outlines when I give you guys feedback on that, okay? You don't want to be scrambling at the last minute with a huge major overhaul of your paper. So,
Are these papers pretty standard in science class?
yes. Yes. And so I had to write 2 of these during my time in undergrad. Yeah. Probably not as standard in like Bio 101. So as I mentioned to you guys in like Principles of Biology 1 and 2, you really just have 4 exams. 3 during the year and 1 final exam, or semester rather, and 1 final exam. Those are your only grades. You have 4 grades, 4 exams, and that's it. So by doing this, I'm trying to give you guys more opportunities to improve your grades. Yeah, but this would be a standard thing that you would do in, like if you took ecology or animal physiology or things like that. Any other questions? Yeah.
This is kind of unrelated, but he talked about potentially pushing this second take-home test.
Thank you for bringing it up. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, no, I looking at the dates again, I realized we have to have it when it is. So the exam is still the date that it says on Canvas, and you're going to turn it in after 24 hours after it's assigned. So have you guys looked to see what date that is? The 18th. Yeah. So you handed out the 17th, I think, and then due the 18th. So yeah. So which is good because you guys are handing it in the morning. You're handing in your 3 potential topics. So that's out of the way. Then that night you guys are doing the exams, right? Okay. Shelby.
So is the second exam going to be everything that we've learned from the beginning of the year, or just what?
It's like from the end of the first exam.
End of the first exam.
Is it going to be open note again?
Yep. Take home, open note, open computer. So
Definitely improve my notes.
good.
Do you have any recommendations of what? Do you want us to just like go over everything that you've taught us, or is there anything like specific that you would advise us to go over?
I advise you to go over your notes for sure, because that's where I'm going to make the exam from, right? Is your notes, what we talked about in class. and it's going to be the same format, where maybe 2 or 3 multiple choice, and then a bunch of true false, where you have to correct the false one. Remember, some people forgot to do that. Make sure you do it. Don't lose points on that. And then it's going to be the short answer, and potentially some extra credit. We'll see.
Ooh.
Did you guys notice that I offered you guys 20 points of extra credit on the last exam?
Nice.
That's a lot. Yeah? Okay. It's a take-home exam. Do well on it. You have all of your notes, the textbook readings, you have everything at your disposal. You have 24 hours to do it. So take the time and do it right, because this could be a great opportunity for you to get a good grade on it. Do you guys have any other questions? Are you so after the first exam, we kind of had a low point where everybody was really concerned. Where are you guys? Are you still at this low point? Have you kind of gotten enough swing?
100.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone not still feeling a little iffy?
After we got
Okay.
the cell cycle,
Okay, yeah. That was a really nitty-gritty thing that we had to get through. But you see why it's important, knowing that, to talk about cancer and GMOs, right? So it all kind of connects. And would you guys be interested in a review session before the exam?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. It's gonna be, I'm gonna make it during a lunch period though, okay?
Okay.
So you're gonna bring your own lunch and eat and ask me questions. I'm not gonna just regurgitate everything I've already told you. You guys are gonna ask me questions and I'm gonna answer them. If you don't ask me a question, there's not gonna be a review session, okay? I'm gonna sit there and just not do anything, okay? Yeah, there'll be crickets in the chirping away. So come with questions, and the way you do that is you read through your notes, and if something isn't clear, highlight it. And when you come to the review session, say, hey, I don't really quite understand this, the nitrogen cycle. Can we talk about the nitrogen cycle and what bacteria are doing to fix nitrogen, right? Totally valid. What's not valid is saying, hey, can you go over day 4? Right? I'm not just going to redo a lecture. So come with questions, okay? Okay.
what day is that?
Let's see, the exam is on so why don't we make it the Friday?
So this Friday? So really?
Yeah, I guess we could do Friday, tomorrow, okay? Sean.
So is this exam going to be on everything that we covered up to this point, or
No.
just since the last exam?
So I think Anna, did you ask that?
I did.
Shelby.
Oh.
Shelby did. So no, it's not.
Okay.
It's only from the last exam to now. Okay, so tomorrow during lunch, and I think tomorrow our class is 12:45 to 2. So it's going to be lunch for the review session and then lecture right after that. Okay? And we're going to talk about the Ogallala Aquifer. Okay.